Hello, everyone, and I hope everyone is doing well today. And today we have a pretty serious video, um, pretty major weather events in the next few days going to happen, and we'll likely need another video in the next probably day or two as more details roll in. But this is going to be a pretty serious event, I feel like. Um, So right now we have, just gonna start off with a more broad sort of start and approach, and then we're gonna sort of dig into the key pieces of this event and what needs to go right for certain locations for certain totals. So right now this is the probability of at least minor winter weather impacts. This is for day 4, and this is for Saturday into Sunday, and we can see, well, pretty much anywhere in this yellow and through darker red, which encompasses the southern plains, the mid-south Tennessee Valley, southern Ohio Valley, some of the mid-Atlantic. Um, we have a very, very large area stretching from the Four Corners pretty much up through the Atlantic coast on Virginia, uh, Maryland, and North Carolina. In our day 5, Sunday day, and through a Sunday night and Monday, um, we can see this sort of major probabilities of winter weather impacts, minor winter weather impacts, I should say, spreads across the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Southeast. Um, so the areas I touch, the Ohio Valley and the Southeast, are both going to get impacted by this winter storm. So I'm going to have sort of two sections talking about the Ohio Valley region, the Mid-South sort of Tennessee Valley region, and then talking about sort of the Southeast, the Carolinas. Um, but I think I'll overall touch on most of the potential impacted area. I want to show just another graph here. This is, well, actually, let me show potential of moderate impacts, winter weather impacts. I think this might be a pretty important graphic to show. And moderates when you're starting to get into sort of travel, extreme travel disruptions. Property is at that area of where it could potentially get sort of damaged. Um, that sort of ordeal, and we can see again those oranges and above, pretty much all of the mid South, parts of the deep South, even and pretty much all of Oklahoma, other than the far western Panhandle. Um, will have at least those moderate impacts, and then we'll go to day 5. Pretty much all of the mid-Atlantic, southern Ohio Valley, the coal fields, Tennessee Valley, parts of the deep South will have those 50%, 40 to 50% or higher odds of moderate impacts. If we go to major, this is travel issues for days, even power outages expected. Property could be damaged, even loss of life in very major cases. In Mid-Atlantic, this is for Sunday day, and then if we go to Saturday, our hot spots across central Oklahoma, northern Arkansas. So, um, this is as of now. This could change on where with the details incoming and sort of change on the hot spots here. But um, yeah, this is going to be a major winter storm. This is the probability of exceeding 0.25 inches of a liquid equivalent of snow or sleet. Um, so roughly around 4 inches of snow. And again, for Saturday, our hot spot across much of northern central Arkansas, maybe far western Tennessee, including Memphis, but especially central Oklahoma, much of Oklahoma, is in this hot spot of possibly exceeding several inches of snow. If we go into Sunday, we can see our hot spot pretty much from central Arkansas all the way up through Washington, D.C. Again, this will probably, this will be ironed out in the next few days, north and south, I feel like. So we'll sort of see a more of a sharper cutoff between our 10 to 30% and our 50 to 70%, especially up north, I feel like, and maybe even down south. And then Sunday night into Monday morning, we can see the Northeast, Monday afternoon, sort of have those impacts, New York, Boston, Philadelphia. But main sort of attention is going to really be from central Oklahoma down up through the mid-Atlantic, including the Ohio Valley in the Carolinas. So let's dig into our operational models. I'm going to show the GFS, the Euro, and the UK Met, which is the UK model. It's had a decent handle on the system, the UK model, especially a few days ago. And it has a pretty interesting solution still. The GFS has had a pretty rough handle with this system. Although the last 24 or so hours it has sort of corrected, but still not really my go-to model. The Euro has been the most consistent and shows, I think, the most likely outcome. Maybe a little further north, but we'll discuss that soon. But let's sort of get in the nitty-gritty um, of what we're seeing here. And I am going to, again, this is the GFS. This came out this morning. So this is a Wednesday night here, and you're probably looking at this and asking, what does this mean? Well, this is our 500 millibar height and vorticity map. Vorticity is just energy. Just think of it as energy, and the higher these values down below here, the more energy is available for precipitation. More forcing is allowed to happen with more vorticity, and more forcing allows for more just overall precipitation, including rain, snow, ice. So um, anything really above 5 to 10 here, we're looking at decent energy. Anything over 15 to 20, we have pretty sufficient energy. I don't know why there we go. Sorry. But let's look at, Wednesday night, and there's going to be um, a few key pieces here. Let's get right here. So let's look at these key pieces, and we have three pieces of energy here to the system. So our first piece of energy um, is right. Do not know why that's so thick. Ooh, excuse me. But we have three pieces to this system, and this right here is our first piece right here. This sort of upper level low, enclosed upper level low. We see our height lines here. These are our height lines right here, right here, right here. These black lines are our height lines. And our height lines here decrease as we go north. And the more these decrease, we have a 495, a 501, a 510. Once we get past the 510, we have really deep Arctic air, and especially approaching the low 400s. That just tells me um, that we have a lot of cooler air in place. Our second piece of energy, don't know why that's being like that. So here's our first piece. Our second piece that we need to look at is right here. This is our Baja California, our subtropical moisture. This is going to be very crucial into how much precip can really develop into this sort of general area here. This key piece will determine how much precipitation we will get in this blue area here. Um, And then our second piece is going to be further sort of up here. Very, very bad three. But our second piece is up here, and this is going to be our Arctic air injecting behind our initial upper level low. And what this upper level low is going to do is going to track sort of eastward, but it's going to bring this cool air behind it sort of down to the southeast. And this cooler air is going to wrap around behind it, and it's going to allow cooler air to sort of dip down across our eastern, Midwest, and our, Ohio Valley, East Coast regions. So this cooler air is going to wrap around and go south due to this upper level low. This is also key because we need this initial cooler air to inject southward to even have enough, I think, polar air to sort of be into our mid-south Ohio Valley, mid-Atlantic regions. So this is Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. I am going to skip this ahead until I think Friday night, Friday evening, and we're going to see how this involves. So keep an eye on this right here piece and this piece here as I move this ahead. As we Friday morning, our upper level lows moved east. We see our cooler air, cooler energy wrapping behind it across the Great Lakes and into the Midwest. And then we see our Baja California, our subtropical moisture off the coast of California and Baja California. So our upper level low moving this way. We still have our cooler air being pushed behind it like this. And then we have our subtropical moisture still moving in this direction. And we can already see some of this energy. If I back this up a little bit, watch the vorticity. Watch this orange and yellow across the four corners. Watch it build over Thursday evening into Friday morning. This is Thursday afternoon here, and then into Friday morning. It starts to build across the four corners and across to New Mexico and Texas. It's picking up the energy from our low pressure here, sort of letting it phase in to our cold air, which is right through here. So just in general, what I'm really talking about is our main sort of moisture provider for the system is going to be feeding moisture in our upper levels into the central plains and our mid-south regions. And we can see this funneling happen with our vorticity map. We can see it happening with the direction of my arrows here. And as I sort of back it up and sort of play it here, frame by frame, we can sort of see this vorticity move into that direction of our problem zone. So we have increased vorticity being sort of vected into our cooler air, which means we have more energy, we have more lift. So we're going to have precip begin to form as more of this cooler air and more moisture begins to sort of phase in. So as we move on through Friday night into Saturday morning, we have our initial upper level low here. This is our first key piece here. Then we have our second piece. This is technically, I labeled it as our third piece. And then we have our second piece here, providing our energy to clash with this cooler air being advected southward. And we have our gradient set up. We can see how tight our height lines are across Iowa, Illinois, Indiana. See how close our black lines are. And then if we go a little further south across the mid-south, those lines are a bit further spaced apart. That tells me we have a gradient. And our temperature gradient is likely going to be setting up right across, here. This is going to be our battle zone of heavy snow, heavy ice. I think this is where it's going to set up. Maybe a little bit further south too. This could probably be, brought maybe a little bit south, but we'll have to see how the data looks in a few days. But we see the overall setup here. We have our first key piece bringing that initial cooler air. Our third piece here is that deep Arctic air, and it's going to really crash in across the upper Midwest and allow that cooler air to reinforce that initial cool air injection from our first piece. This third piece just reinforces that cool air and allows more cool air to sort of develop um, across our southern regions. So that's our three key pieces to this. And as we move on throughout the day, sort of Saturday, we can see that that cooler air right here, the upper level low, is off the screen, kind of not even really, um, important at this point. And we can see our clash zone sort of in this area here of where we'll see really extreme snow or ice. Um, so this is my overall thinking. This is the GFS. Um, I'm going to quickly go over the rest of the models to sort of compare and contrast, especially the European model here. And we're going to just quickly sort of show what this one has. So starting, Thursday night to Friday morning. Okay, again, we have our first piece of energy. We have our second piece, or our third piece here, second piece here. We have our flow. We can sort of start to see it already. This is a bit further south, a little bit further south than GFS, although this is a few hours ahead than what I originally started with the GFS. But um, we see our sort of setup here, same overall setup. If we move on into Friday evening into Saturday morning, well, we have our first piece already kind of off the screen, almost irrelevant at this point. Here is our deep Arctic air. This is our third key piece, very important as well. This is also very important here. And something I already noticed compared to the Euro, from the GFS, is we have a lot more energy. Um, and this tells me here that the Euro is phasing in with this Baja moisture better. It's grabbing a lot more of that moisture compared to the GFS. Um, this is Saturday morning. Let's look at the GFS at Saturday morning. And there's not a whole lot. I mean, there is some. We have some across, the Panhandle, Texas, even across Central Texas. But compare that to the Euro here. We just have a more overall general vorticity, a better signal for more sort of energy being pulled from this moisture injection. Um, so if we move on here just a little bit into Saturday day, um, here's our Arctic air here. And then we have our moisture here, and it's just being funneled in, sort of in between these, in this general area. Maybe not so far south, but in this general area, we have our, tighter gradients up through here. This is probably where our low pressure would, set up across through here, just below that sort of middle ground of the gradient. So this is our overall setup, and this is our key pieces. It depends how much moisture gets drawn in from this subtropical shortwave. How much moisture can this upper level sort of disturbance bring in? How much can that phase together? Um, and the signal has been the last several days that it's going to phase very well, and it continues to have that sort of signal. And I think someone's going to see a significant snow or ice storm in this blue circle. Someone is going to see a, a very bad storm. Um, and just looking at the UK, and I'll sort of just go through quickly here. This is, Wednesday morning. We have our upper level low coming in right here. Um, and then by, Thursday afternoon, it's across the northern Great Lakes. Our Arctic air is further up north. Our subtropical moisture, same general placement. It's a bit further north. We have in the UK model, the Euro model probably had something like this. Um, Obviously, if my pen wasn't that thick, it'd look a little better. The Euro model is maybe something like this. A little further south, our UK model, sort of like this. So a little further north, not much, but that difference does make a sort of difference when our ice and snow line will be, and our rain and ice line will be. Um, but overall, the same general idea. This subtropical moisture clashes in with this polar air, and we have our battle zone. And we can see our orientation of our height lines a bit more southwest to northeast. So our area would be something more like this, more of a northeastern threat: Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, even Cincinnati, a hammer through Kentucky and West Virginia. Um, so yeah, more northern solution from the UK. The Euro is more of a central solution, has our mid-south, mid-Atlantic. GFS is further south, has the mid-south and the mid-Atlantic, but it's also a bit further south into the deep south. So lots of differences, when it comes to like the details of where that snow, rain line, and the ice line will be, all that stuff. So um, upper levels, that is our general idea of what's going on. Um, let's look at the GFS sort of precipitation run here. Take this with a grain of salt. We don't know yet. We don't know yet. The next day or two are crucial and really iron out details. But I think what we do know is that someone is going to have a pretty bad snowstorm and ice storm. And this is the GFS. This is Friday evening, and we can already see a snow and ice storm are really begin to kick off here as that cold air above here. We have a high pressure of 1048 millibars. 1048 millibars. That is an pretty extreme high pressure, and that tells me it has very deep Arctic air with it and behind it. So the more this moves, the more this high pressure moves eastward and southward, the more cooler air is going to funnel southward and eastward. So watch this high pressure. And this is also going to be another key for this setup. As we move on to sort of Saturday afternoon, the Mid-South, our central plains have gotten slammed already. Our high pressure has moved east. It's funneling in colder air um, into our Mid-Atlantic zone. We have cold air sort of funneling in behind it still. Um, we have another shortwave actually beginning to form across the panhandle. And then we have our main low pressure sort of here that's going to kind of move off this way and then up the coast a little bit. So there's a lot going on here, but we have our general setup. High pressure providing the Arctic air. We have our low pressure across the deep south providing, uh, the extra sort of moisture, the extra sort of precipitation already on top of the subtropical um, energy influence. So we have, extreme snow and ice. But look how far south this is. I mean, the Houston area is getting freezing rain according to the GFS. I think that's just too far south. I don't think really much further south than Atlanta, maybe a little 50 to 100 miles. But we can see the GFS. It's just an ice, sleet, snowy mess across the mid-south, central plains, mid-Atlantic, southeast, you name it. And I mean, it starts Friday afternoon. we have our second shortwave here beginning to form, and it has two sort of different waves of wintry precipitation. In some areas, we'll see precipitation for 2 days straight, according to the GFS. That would be horrible. That would be devastating for some areas. A crippling ice storm. Power would be out for weeks. Um, but GFS has not had a great handle, so I'm not believing this solution. I don't think it's going to happen. Let's just go ahead and sort of mark out the GFS. Um, could it happen? I mean, obviously, anything can happen with weather, but will it happen? It's very, very unlikely. So let's move on to our Euro model. It has the precipitation forming a little bit later. This is early Saturday morning when we really start seeing our freezing rain and our snow across the Mid-South Central Plains. Um, a little later, as we move on Saturday evening, I mean, we're getting thumped in Nashville and Memphis and Lexington, Little Rock, Red River area, getting thumped with snow, freezing rain, Jackson, Mississippi, Southern Arkansas, Dallas, um, Monroe, and it does have freezing rain trying to enter the Houston area. It's a little bit further north, which I like. Freezing rain even a little bit further south than Atlanta. But overall, we can see a major snowstorm mid-south. Ohio Valley getting thumped at Sunday morning through afternoon and to the evening. Extreme freezing rain across the Carolinas, even parts of the deep south. And then it sort of turns into a coastal low and impacts New York and Boston. So, I mean, we have a lot of winners with this solution when it comes to snow. Ice is a no-win scenario. Ice is way worse to deal with than snow, from my experience, and we can see a lot of it. This is an impressive run. And let's look at our UK model just real quick. Um, no, Friday night, we can start to see that phasing. We have our deep high pressure providing the Arctic air. The moisture is phasing in with it. We see snow in the Central Plains, but we can already see this further north. We see rain in northern Mississippi, southern Arkansas, when the other two models were showing ice. It ends up switching over to a sleet ice mix. We do end up seeing some heavy snow across the Central Plains and Mid South, but it's a warmer solution. It's further north. This is, I think our real further north solution here. I don't think it's going to go much further north than this. Um, and even has, you know, not as much cold air damming happening across the Carolinas. It's definitely some icy mix, but not as further south. Like Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Columbia would be rather safe. Atlanta, Georgia would be safe. Northern Georgia. So this is a more northern solution. We can see this low pressure. I mean, our other low pressures were down through here. And the UK low pressure is up here like this. It has a much further north solution. I expect this to sort of trend back to the south a little bit, but I think this is as far north as the system gets. So I wanted to show our GFS, which is our further south solution. Euro is kind of in between, and the UK is our further north solution. Um, all of these are feasible, but I think the Euro is going to prevail. We'll see though. Let's look at our ensembles. I think it's very important to look at our ensemble models. Um, and I'm going to just overall show our just snowfall and freezing rainfall amounts, because I think showing ensembles this far out, we're still 4 to 5 days out. Showing ensembles, I think, is still the way to go. Although I will show the operational as well. But let's first start off with the ensemble. This is through Wednesday morning. Everything should be out by then. And this is from this morning, our European ensemble, um, it really likes this sort of bullseye across here, including Washington D.C., Philadelphia, Charleston, West Virginia, Lexington, Little Rock, just Memphis. You have Nashville, you have Charlottesville, you have Roanoke, you have Oklahoma, City. Um, Big time snow possible. This is a huge signal from the ensembles. Anytime you get a signal showing these pinks, which is, you're approaching 8 to 10 inches with these pinks. So anytime we see these dark purples or these sort of pinkish purples and more pinks this far out from the ensembles, it is a great signal for, it's a great signal for um, really heavy snow. So let me show the freezing rain. Um, Let me show the freezing rain map. And I do want to mention freezing rain amounts are sometimes overdone on these operational models. We have to sometimes wait for our higher resolution models to come in to really get an idea of how much ice we'll have. But however, we'll use what we have. Anything really over this third shade of pink, so sort of, these kind of mid pinkish colors, and when we get into the hot pinks and darker pinks, um, we're looking at significant icing. Our sort of light to moderate pinks, we're looking at, moderate to extreme impacts. Anything over half an inch, so anything over really the sort of moderate pink here. So this sort of fourth pink here, um, this is what I'm talking about. We have our first pink, two here, two, three, and this fourth pink here is when we're going to consider ice storm. Um, so we can already see sort of what we're going to be looking at here in terms of ice. So the Euro ensemble has two main hotspots um, for ice, and that's going to be in the Dallas, southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana, sort of Jackson, Mississippi, in this range, and then we have our second sort of problem area across the Carolinas in northern Georgia. Um, I think we'll get sort of a warm wedge form across central Alabama, sort of southern Mississippi, and parts of maybe far western Georgia. Then maybe help with some of the ice totals. Switch over to rain. But this is 0.5 to like 1.5 inches of ice. Anything over zero point 0.5 is considered ice storm and is considered, significant. Anything over an inch is, I would consider, catastrophic, especially for the South, where areas aren't used to this type of weather. Um, these darker pinks, these darker pinks here across Arkansas, Louisiana, parts of Texas, Mississippi, the Georgias, the Carolinas, that is a massive signal this far out. I don't think I've seen anything like it. Um, anyone in these sort of areas will really need to get prepared. Even if we see half of this, even if we see a quarter to half an inch, and this completely misses of where we could possibly get an inch of ice, even a quarter inch of ice is going to cause considerable travel disruptions and even maybe power outages for a few days in some areas. So um, yeah, this is a serious storm, a serious setup, and this is the side of the storm I'm most worried about is our ice. We're gonna see crippling ice storm and significant ice storm effects in somewhere across the south and southeast. Where we don't know, how much we don't know, but somewhere is going to see a lot of ice. Somewhere is going to see a lot of snow. We have general ideas of where this will be. Our general ice, area is going to be sort of in this area, and then our more of our snow threat is going to be kind of up in here. So anywhere in this yellow, expect some big time ice. Anywhere in this blue, expect some big time snow totals. Anywhere in this overlapping area here, um, well, there was an overlapping area, but there's going to be this overlapping area probably through here that may see several inches of snow and maybe a bit of ice as well. So that's going to be the battle area, in this, especially across the Mid-South and northern Mississippi and Alabama. So that's our Euro ensemble. I'm not going to really um, bother going into detail. We'll check out our GFS ensemble, and we only can get our snowfall. It's showing, less signal of significant snowfall other than the mid-Atlantic and parts of the central Oklahoma, but we see the general area still of where our biggest snowfall will likely take place in this general area, and higher amounts, you know, within that sort of general area. So JFS has the, overall, it is a little further south, you know, but the ensembles are an overall agreement. I do want to look at our AI ensemble models here because the AI Euro and the AI GFS have been doing fairly well with this system for the most part. I have grown to sort of to have more trust into these AI models. But if we go into Wednesday morning, the Euro AI ensemble shows, I mean, an insane snowstorm across Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, Mid South. It's picking up, I mean, totals of a foot and foot and a half. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. At least this widespread. We may see a few areas in the Mid Atlantic, especially in these areas here, this area, and then parts of here. Those two areas here, sort of with my blue scribbles, um, these two areas here have um, have my attention of getting the most snowfall. We have our Mid-Atlantic, Central Virginia, potentially even Washington D.C. Could be a bit further south. It may that cutoff of several inches, like 6 to 8 inches to a foot, might be a pretty sharp cutoff. Washington D.C. needs to pay attention. Charleston, West Virginia, Lexington might be right on that cutoff. So pay attention. It could be a 5 to 6 inch storm, or it could be a 10-inch storm. And it could be a matter of a 50-mile low pressure track across the South. So pay attention. That's significant. That's a significant difference. So these two areas, especially into more central Oklahoma, including Oklahoma City, could see some higher totals. Um, this is the Euro AI snow. I don't believe they have, yeah, they don't have ice. So we'll take that with as it is. Let's check the Euro. The Euro model, again, has that sort of a widespread swath of 12 to 18 inches from Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville, Raleigh, Central Virginia, into Washington D.C. Maybe not as much as a foot, but Southern Maryland and Southern Delaware, Jersey Shore. Pay attention. Just pay attention. It can vary from several inches to over a foot. Just with how these things can sort of set up with the cold air and the moisture. If it's a perfect setup, everything goes perfectly for this type of result, then the ceiling's high. Essentially, is what I'm saying. The ceiling's high. Let's check the GFS run, and whoa, look at that! The GFS is much further south. I mean, our main swath is southern Oklahoma, northern Texas, south of Memphis, south of Nashville. We're getting into Columbia, getting several inches. Charlotte getting like over a foot of snow. Yeah, I don't. That's BS. I don't think that's going to happen. This snow line, this main snow area is going to be up through here. It's going to be further north. Our ice area is going to be more likely up through, where the snow is. GFS is just too far south. I'm just going to scrap it. I'm not even going to look at it, I don't think, anymore, really. And just sort of just go with the UK and Euro and just kind of blend those solutions in my forecasting. Um, yeah, the GFS has just been a mess. Um, but this is I think one of the most important graphics I'm going to show you is the national blend of models. What is this? This takes pretty much all the models, blends them together, gives you an output, giving sort of the mean out of all of the outputs put together. And having our blend of models showing um, showing this significant signal for, I mean, big time snow across, you know, central Jersey, um, far southern PA, into much of West Virginia, into central southern Kentucky. I mean, our blended model. This is our battle zone. Our I wouldn't say battle zone, but this is going to be our main snow zone, and especially in these, especially through here. I think these two, like I said, these two areas here are going to see, I think, the most snow in this event. Um, this middle section here, across the mid-south and sort of across central Kentucky and Tennessee, you're going to have this thing set up pretty perfectly in order to get, I think, over a foot of snow. It's possible though, and I think the likelihood is going to be um, a lot higher than any other storm of this magnitude. So our national blend showing, I mean, significant totals. Well, here's our flat ice accumulation for our national blend. Anything, really anything in this second and third shade of pink. Um, you know, second to third shade of pink, you're over a tenth of an inch. You're getting into over a quarter of an inch on that third shade of pink. Anything over really a tenth to a quarter of an inch, you're going to have travel issues. You're going to have, issues to your daily sort of way of life. So, anywhere sort of in this area here, expect some significant icing. Remember that warm wedge I mentioned for Alabama? I mean, we can sort of see it here. We can sort of see it. It's going to help, I think, parts of far sort of western um, Georgia, most of sort of central Alabama, and maybe even sections of far eastern Mississippi. That warm wedge um, is going to help, but we can see our more significant icing. Fayetteville, North Carolina, Charlotte, Columbia, North Georgia, southern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, even into Dallas. Um, need to you need to pay close attention to this. Trying to think of Shreveport. I couldn't think of it. In Monroe, Louisiana. Um, Shreveport here. Monroe is probably right around there. Significant icing. You need to be on the lookout for significant icing. Um, this is about it. This is about it. I um, I just want to draw this again. Our biggest snow sort of area is going to be, I think, across up through here. Our biggest ice area, as we can see, it's going to be, it's going to be right below on that snow. And there is going to be an overlap, I think, of where places like Memphis, potentially south of Little Rock, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, south central Arkansas will have several inches of snow and maybe half an inch of ice, potentially, quarter of an inch. So please be on the lookout. This is a significant winter storm. The confidence is high. Someone's going to get over a foot of snow, especially in the Mid-Atlantic, Central Plains. Someone's going to get half an inch or more of ice, especially, southern Arkansas, northeastern Texas, northern Louisiana, and the Carolinas and northern Georgia. Those areas for ice are going to be the most significant. So this was a very long video, approaching 50 minutes. I'm very sorry. We had a lot to unpack. We had a lot to go over of how the system is going to phase together, the three key ingredients of the upper level low, the Arctic air injection behind the upper level low, and the Baja California subtropical moisture. All of those three things are going to be key factors in the next 24 to 48 hours in determining more of a detailed snow and ice map. So I'll have another video in the next 2 or 3 days pinpointing where the greatest ice and snow potential will be, and we'll go from there. So, hope everyone has a good day, and prepare if you're in the said areas as I've mentioned in the video. Be aware of a new video soon, and I hope everyone stays safe.